Hey, welcome in. Hey, Grace. Hey, Wade. Hey, Julie.
Oh,
How's
wow.
everyone doing?
KG, Clarice, Sherry, Elena, Ellen, Stephanie. This is exciting. Christy's back.
Welcome in.
Francine's back. Jennifer. It's going to be a Gail. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful session. I can already tell by who's in the room.
There's probably going to be more people trickling in, but I think we'll just kind of jump into it. This is our final Mindful Poetry Moments virtual gathering of National Poetry Month this April. And just as a reminder for folks who have attended in the past, or if you're a newcomer to one of these sessions, in each of these sessions, we meditate under the guidance of a mindfulness facilitator, this week being Ta.Ma.R.A. Belinda, and then we consider a single poem, with this week's poem being A Blessing by Samyak Shertok, and we are joined by the poet himself. Samyak will then share a prompt and we'll be able to write for 10 minutes and then we can all share what we came up with the group. And then afterwards, we're gonna give you some reminders. This summer, we're gonna have our Mindful Poetry Moments anthology book launch on August 7th, and we'll give you more details about submitting to that at the very end of this session. Yeah, and if you do end up sharing, but you won't, we share out these we record each Zoom session and we share them on YouTube. But if you wish to have whatever you say edited out, just please let us know and we'll send a follow-up email to everyone. And yeah, I think we'll kind of jump into our mindfulness portion of this gathering. I'll introduce our mindfulness facilitator, Ta.Ma.R.A. Belinda. Ta.Ma.R.A. is a conceptual artist, craftsperson, and healing guide developing a unique perspective towards a study in mathematical design and crown energy. Using skills cultivated in continuous research of functional design, spiritual philosophy, and cultural art, she uses multiple disciplines and techniques to develop a seamless integration between art and mental expansion. And we're very excited to have Ta.Ma.R.A. here today. So yeah, I'll pass the baton to you, Ta.Ma.R.A.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here. I hope that everyone can hear me. I am outside, and it has decided to rain a little bit, but I like the water, so I'm here. Okay. For this mindfulness session, real quick, I would like us to, we're all sitting, I'm assuming. I'm standing, but I would like us to push away from our tables wherever we are and plant our feet. Probably sitting just at the edge of our seats so we can have a long spine. Once we are settled, fantastic. Everyone raise your hands up to the screen so I can see you. Can we bring the hands up? Okay, great. Let's shake the hands. Like give it, be a little rigorous. We're let something out. You've been on your computers today. You've been writing today. Like let it out. Let's allow this shake to come up through the arms, to the elbows, into the shoulders. Good. Let the hands down. Let's go straight to the shoulders, up and down. Let things out. Maybe moving side to side. Yes. Nicely done. Coming to center. Let's take a big deep breath in. Exhale. Good. Deep breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. Continuing to breathe here for today's session. Let's create an intention. What do we want to receive from this experience together? How can we best give ourselves in this moment with each other? When you have that in your mind, let's take a big breath in through the nose, exhale through the mouth, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. One more time, inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Good. Let's move the body and waken ourselves up. Taking a big deep breath in, raise the chin all the way up into the air. Exhale, let's bring the chin to the chest. Inhaling, raising the chin all the way up into the air. Exhaling, bringing the chin to the chest. One more time. Inhale all the way up. And exhale, chin to chest. Coming to the center, taking a big deep breath in. We're going to our sides. As we exhale, bring the chin to the left shoulder and hold. Take a big deep breath in right here. And exhale. Inhale, let's come to center, back to our screen. And exhale over to the right side. Hold it here, take a big deep breath in. And exhale. One more time. Inhale, coming to center. Exhale over to the left. Let's move. Inhale, coming to center. And over to the right. Good. Inhale, coming to center. Now we're going to drop the left ear to the left shoulder. So we're raising our chin up to the sky as we turn our head. Inhale, come to center. And then to the right. Raising the chin up, right ear to the right shoulder. Coming to center, take a big belly breath in through the nose. Big release through the mouth. One more time, big deep breath in through the nose. Make it an audible sigh that only you can hear. Let it out. Beautifully done. I pass this back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ta.Ma.R.A. We'll now transition into a reading of A Blessing by Samyak Shertok, and we are blessed to have Samyak read the poem to us. Samyak's poems appear in the Cincinnati Review, the Gettysburg Review, Iowa Review, the Kenyon Review, Shenandoah, Best New Poets, and so many more publications. He has received fellowships from Aspen Words, the Wurlitzer Foundation, and the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown. He's been awarded the Robert and Adele Shift Award for Poetry, the Gulf Coast Prize in Poetry, and the Auburn Witness Poetry Prize. He is originally from Nepal, and he is currently the inaugural Hughes Fellow in Poetry at Southern Methodist University. And thank you so much, Samyak, for joining us today. Would you like to read your poem?
Yes, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Stacy and Bryce, also for having me back. Thank you, Hale, for choosing my poem and for inviting me. And thank you, Ta.Ma.R.A, for beautiful opening meditation. And thank you all for being here while you could be anywhere else. I'll begin by reading the poem, A Blessing, after Liang Li. Twice a year, Appa cooked his monk's half-moon dish, pumpkin blossom lamb curry. First crackle the fenugreek seeds in ghee, stir the thinly sliced baby pumpkins translucent, add a concocted paste of wild herbs soaked in buttermilk overnight, drop the smoked fatted lamb pieces, or bone stock, let the fat melt, then spread the flowers whole on the top until they are draining. But before offering it to us over steamed rice, even before his guards, he would serve those who were not home, place the filled clay bowls on the edge of the smoldering hearth in a half ring. Always bigger portions than for those politely waiting around him with clean, wet hands, which made me wish I were not there, but forgot all about it as bite after bite dissolved in my mouth, each mouthful lusher than the last, more ravenous for the next. Cliff forest flesh, aged smoke, forest fragrance, rain honey dark, earth moon milk, petrichor pistils, salt, butter gossip of the butterflies, fire of the fireflies, summer, sweet impossible summer. We can have the poem down. It's a little slightly strange for me to discuss my own poem because last time I had the privilege of discussing another amazing poet's poem. So I want to do it slightly differently this time, and I want to begin by asking, what does a blessing mean to you? And you can jump in at any time you want.
Ellen, if you want to speak, go ahead.
Sure, I'll go ahead. Well, I think it means, for me, it means a lot of different things, but offering gratitude for a moment in this poem, it's the moment of honoring the food, honoring the ancestors, and certainly have had moments like that around my family of origins table, but also just out in nature. I also feel that blessing.
Okay, thanks so much, Ellen.
We're getting some good responses in the chat as well. Deborah Daniel responds with an opening, which I really like that. Oh, Francine, would you like to share?
Well, the first thing that came up popped in my mind was a blessing and a curse. So, so many people, I know in the US we have this, like knock on wood. You give thanks for something or like a gift or something that happened that was like a miracle or whatever, but when you're describing it, you knock on wood. Because we all know that we live with curses, and that I don't know, just somehow that's in the culture here, or the original culture here, is to be mindful of that we also swim with curses while we experience blessings, and this positive and negative, they swim side by side. So that's what came to mind. And that in my family, a blessing is like, well, it's something bestowed on you, first of all. And then when we say a prayer or utter the blessing, it's giving thanks.
So Francine, you had so many deep thoughts there, a lot to unpack. I think one place I kind of want to emphasize is the notion of utterance, right? Obviously prayers and blessings work differently in different cultures, but in my culture, obviously there are silent blessings, silent prayers, but sometimes the utterance becomes an act of blessing, right? Whether it's through conjuring, certain mantras act that way. And I'm a big believer in silence, right? Like some things, in fact, I think most sacred things should not be spoken or cannot be spoken in a way. But at the same time, I think as a poet, there's also language to be dealt with, right? So Hale is here. I'm misquoting. I'll be misquoting Rumi, but some mystics say, that they have been using all these words, and their only message is silence, right? So I find the notion of utterance very intriguing there. Maybe there's a lot in the chat box. If one more person want to chime in, since we're talking about utterance, maybe verbally utter with the group what a blessing or what to bless means to you, and then we can move into the poem.
Elena, would you want to share?
Thank you, Patrick. Hello, thank you for your wonderful poem. I loved it.
Thank you, Elena. I think I remember you from last time.
Oh, you do? Thank you. I love the Jewish tradition of when someone passes, that they say, may their memory be a blessing. And, for my personal history, my mother died when I was 5. And I think of her every single day, many times a day. So I feel like I've been blessed all this time, even though her absence is real. Her presence is here in my heart. And that's a blessing to me.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Elena. And I think, as I mentioned, I kind of think of it in relation to love as well, right? I think when we're like purely and truly in love with someone, I feel like there's nothing to be said, but just to be experienced. So there's nonverbal communication, and perhaps I like to believe that, I don't know about body, soul, such things, but I like to believe our loved ones never leave us. They're always around us, no matter how far, whether alive or not. For instance, I feel my parents' presence all the time, especially in the most difficult and challenging times. I feel like they're right there with me. It's a strange feeling, and I hope at least some of you can relate to that. And just I cannot explain it, but I just know that they're there, right? And my father passed away in 2011, and he didn't get to see me achieve some of the small things I've achieved, and I wish he were able to, but at the same time I feel like he's here with me all the time. And so thank you for sharing that. I wanted to briefly also talk about I've been talking about love, but also about compassion and kindness, right? And obviously, I think Francine talked about blessing and curse. Sometimes because of power dynamics, because of abuse of position of power, there are times when we have to call out people, right? When abuse and abuse of power takes place, we have to hold them accountable. But I was also thinking, like, there are also times when we make honest mistakes, right? And I was thinking, when it's if someone is doing great and doing all the right things, anyone can praise them, anyone can love them, right? When things are going wrong, when someone does things they should never do, it's also easy to be mean to them, right? But I was thinking, like, compassion, perhaps in some way, is obviously when we have to hold someone accountable, we should. But also, I feel like when there's moments of honest mistake, right? And I mean that's what it means to be human, right? We make errors, mistakes all the time. Also, to be able to forgive and show compassion and kindness, right? While just driving here, someone someone was changing their lanes almost dangerously, right? And I was thinking, like, I can easily honk at them, right? But then sometimes I myself have been in moments when it's like complete rush, right? Like I have to get there, like, and I sometimes I think maybe that's what it's for them today. Maybe they are rushing to some place that they have to be at this moment. I mean, may or may not be true. Maybe some are serial bad drivers, right? But just to consider that as an option, I feel like that too is a kind of blessing, in my opinion, right? So finally, coming to the poem, what soon you'll be writing poems of your own based on this poem. But I just wanted to ask, what things stand out to you in this poem, or what can you learn from it if you were writing a poem? What things stand out to you as a reader, as a writer?
Should we just jump in here?
Oh yes, yes.
Well, for me, when I was
if you
reading
raise
it,
your hand, I can also try
I'm
to
gonna
see.
put the
But
poem
yes,
back up too.
For me, it was the specificity of the ingredients of the meal, and many of them, and of course, I was impressed with the tradition, and many of the ingredients I wasn't familiar with, which made me even more interested in sharing in a meal that for me is not a traditional meal. And I thought you captured that so well in the way you wrote this poem. And there's also the rhythm of the poem is such that I really felt that I was sitting at the table with you, which was quite a remarkable experience. So anyway, those were my thoughts. That's what I learned from it. I would like to be able to be that specific in my writing.
oh, thanks so much, Joanne. One of the things I tell my students all the time is that specificity, right? The details, the the ideas. I mean, there are times when we need great ideas, and there are idea poems, but it's the concrete, it's the sensory details that convey those emotions and ideas, right? And I love how you talked about sharing a meal. I was recently looking at a poem called Postscript by Seamus Heaney, one of my favorite poems and favorite writers of all time. And he begins the poem by saying, "Sometime make time to come to this place," right? And then he goes on to describe the whole experience. It's like, okay, you have invited me to come here, but then you have already given me the experience as though I'm already there, right? So uh, it may not be at that level, but I appreciate you saying sharing a meal as though through the ingredients, the reader can, to some extent, also partake of that meal to some extent, right?
Right.
Thank you very much. Francine, I see your hand.
Yes, I was my attention to the last few lines of your poem where you talk about cliff foraged flesh, aged smoked, foraged fragrance, and then you rain honeyed dark, how earthed moon milk, and so on. And I like the gossip of the butterflies, butter gossip of the butterflies. How you pulled words apart, you brought them back together again, and then you even took fire from the fireflies. I have to say I cheated and I looked at some articles about you on the internet, and
Oh,
um, and I was thinking of a local Tibetan monk who gives Dharma talks, and he talked a little bit about his life, never seeing Tibet, but having to grow up in Nepal, but never longing to see his country, and having to receive that through his teacher and community, this uh, sense of Tibet. He always talked about Tibet as if he had been there, and then when his teacher died, he mentioned all these sorrows that he carried, was, never having actually seen the country, and but being cared for by the monk and his teacher, how he even washed his clothes and made food for him, and when he was a little boy, and growing up, these intimate things that he did for him like a parent. Um, and I like that you said your favorite meditation is on the sky. And
oh, in a different poem.
well, yes, but that struck me as kind of, you're meditating in nature or space. That's one of the things Tibetans like to do, is to go to a hill or top
I'm
someplace. And
sorry to interrupt, but also so we can stay on time, we would like to allow Jennifer to speak as well. Uh,
Thanks,
we're gonna
Francine. We
jump
just
in.
want to squeeze one more in.
Okay.
I was just going to say that another thing I loved about the poem was the flow. And it has the feeling to me of a daydream, as the connection with this special dish with father, but then it translates into summer too. So not only are the ingredients so salient, but also that end part in terms of turning into summer, and how summer can be sweet, summer can probably not be sweet as well, but it's okay in this moment because the full blessing of summer is there, whether the reality will meet that or not. So that was kind of the feeling that I got from it.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. I also wanted to thank Francine earlier for sharing. And I see lots of comments here in the chat box. Intimacy, which is probably one of the favorite things about any poetry for me, is to feel intimate to the author, to the poem. Recipe, of course, we have talked about the connections who weren't there. Indeed, this poem is about as much about who are not there as it is about who are actually there. And the poem has no period. This is a fragment. This is not even a one sentence poem. This is a fragment. Those of you who are the high achievers in the group, when you do your own poems in just a second, you can also aim for one sentence or a fragment poem if you would like, meaning intertwined with layers. Indeed, right? And we can come back to the normal Zoom setting now, Stacy, if that's okay. And for me, ultimately, this poem is, I think we talked about this already, but first and foremost, this poem is expressing gratitude for what my father did, right? But at the same time, eventually, ultimately, a poem like this, I hope a poem like this becomes a blessing in itself, right? That whoever reads, whoever hears, also feel blessed in some way, right? Okay, thank you very much for all the comments. And we will move to writing now. I think Patrick and Bryce already had one prompt. So I'm going to share that one, and also I'll also share mine briefly, if that's okay. So you can go either route, and I think there's a lot of overlap in both of them. So this is the one Bryce and Patrick and Stacy shared with me. Mine is also very similar, and it's coming right after that. I hope I'm not overwhelming you with two responses, but I'll briefly talk about the second one, which is mine. So the first one has some examples, just in case you need some inspiration. But essentially, the prompt is to meditate on a small act of kindness done to you by either a loved one or a stranger, right? And I want to emphasize the word small, because oftentimes we only try to think of like big things, right? These dramatic things done to us. And sometimes the, the everyday things, the in Nepal, we used to have a milkman who would deliver milk every morning. And looking back, at the time he was just doing a job, but looking back, for the milkman to arrive exactly at that hour and never fail a single day to deliver, I think that too is an act of kindness, in my opinion, right? So it can be by a loved one or a stranger. And I just want you to describe that act in as much detail as you can, with special emphasis on sensory details. If you can, aim for at least 3 senses, but depends on what kind of topic you choose. And I also believe in poetry, each line leading us to the next line. So if you can, also see how each line, each detail you write also opens next detail for you, next line in the poem. Earlier, someone mentioned an opening for a blessing. So maybe in that way, every line in a poem is also a blessing in itself. So with that said, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I want to give you all the writing time.
We were going to set a timer and we'll call everyone back in once that's over.
10 minutes. We'll be back.
We're at about 10 minutes right now. We really want to thank Samyak for his time. I believe he has to go to teach a class. Is that correct?
Yeah, Patrick, sorry, I have to run to go teach a class now. Thank you, all of you, for having me, and thank you all for being here. Again, thank you, Stacy, Bryce, and Patrick, and Holly, and Ta.Ma.R.A. This 30 minutes or so, well, more like 45 minutes, has been a blessing for me today. So I thank you all. And I'm gonna miss your sharing, but I can watch it later. So, ciao.
Thank you
Hi,
so
Dave.
much.
Pleasure to meet you.
Really
Thank
blessed to
you.
have you.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to turn it over to Hala Liza Gafori, our curator for all the poetry, who is going to call out anybody who's interested in sharing their poetry. I'll turn it over to you, Hala.
Okay, great. Let me see. People can either raise their hands or do the little hand emoji. And I'm not seeing, I'm trying to figure out how to get the whole gallery view. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm seeing a group of people, but not the whole crew. So maybe write in the chat if you want to share.
Wade is actually raising his hand right now.
Okay, great. Wait,
So
please read.
Yes, very shy. Wait, it's back to all right, here we go. We don't lock the doors. No matter what you might imagine, this is the way. Of leagues traveled in 1,000 footsteps, each hearth just past the sunset. And on the stove, the stew simmers, winter roots or spring rabbits seasoned, the old way through reduction, each dish specific to the month or moon. And these days crowded into the staff room, the ubiquitous potluck, round tables covered in stained vinyl, straining to hold the mismatch of dishes. Some dishes lovingly made, family favorites, food of passion. Others, well, surreptitious chips and napkins tucked in next to the Chips Ahoy. And yet, the tradition lives on in the effort to connect, to break bread, to unlock the doors, and to meet as if for the first time.
Thank you so much, Wade. I liked that idea of the dishes specific to the moon. What was the line? The dishes or the stew?
A month or moon.
Yeah, yeah. The month or moon. The season or the moon. Anybody else want to share?
Elena, I see that your hand is raised.
Elena.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Holly. Here's my poem. Bone broth blessing. You left a container of love at my door. Pneumonia was peaking, and through my fever, I made it down the endless stairway and gathered this gift of wellness. If love were a soup, then I am satiated by this kindness flowing from your hands. I imagine you cooking in your well-ordered way, cleaning as you go, putting the purest ingredients, passing your watchful eye into the pot, a broth with every blessing and prayer your heart can muster. I tasted the warmth and it felt like a kiss of life and healing with saltine crackers.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you.
I love this. I love the surprise of the crackers. And, yeah. If love were, what was that? When someone, yeah, if love were a soup, then I'm satiated. Thank you. Holly, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is a fun one. Thank you so much. Um, I'm asked to sit pretty, a joke we settle into with the settlement of the wine, and we will always laugh about women's roles as my husband checks his recipe and pulls from pantry and fridge the components of the meal he intends for us, as knife and fist become one against the garlic bulb and the onion's layers, and the sizzling pan calls impatient with the hiss of their union, while that steam seals the air with the scent of hunger, and spices rub into goose flesh, now seared, as pinkness browns in the sun of my husband's skill, and the night fills in with the sights and smells of love living its life under the knife, heated and served. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Hiss of their union. That was great. Thank you. Uh, who else? I'm looking, I'm not seeing hands, but maybe I need Bryce, you to tell me, or Patrick, you to tell me.
Go ahead and do the other.
Kateri? Is that how you say your name? Or Kate Reed?
Kateri, yes.
Kateri.
Yes. Okay. When you hug me goodbye, the act might not last 20 seconds, but the feeling survives. When you hug me hello, two hearts' energy resonates and grows. And with this strength, the arrival of hope.
Could you read it again? It was so fast. Could you read it one more
Yes.
time?
Yes, and I have a visitor.
Yes. Hello.
All right.
Hi.
When you hug me goodbye, the act might not last 20 seconds, but the feeling survives. When you hug me hello, two hearts' energy resonates and grows. And with this strength, the arrival of hope.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. And wait, I see your hand up again.
It's Jenny. I'm going to read mine.
Great. Jenny.
Hi, all.
Thank you.
Hello. The beginning was grass-filled lawn. Today is a kaleidoscope of colors. Working the soil as far as I can, I push the shovel into pea-sized gravel. This was the beginning of my land, my stewardship of plot and neighborhood. In it, I placed peonies. I can see the white, fluffy heads rising in the Midwestern steamy spring heat. A small red fleck of red races up one petal where there are millions of fine-edged ruffles. My grandmother's mother planted these, as most farmers would, in a round bed near the road, never cutting them because the ants, of course. But they're returning year after year, proud in the sun and flopped in the rain, the smell not everyone's taste. But in my cooler Northwest climate, I see the exact same clicking of time, of seasons, of spring, of joyous return across countries, the return of my ancestors to me from the rock-filled dirt of my small city yard.
The return of my ancestors. Yes, through the rock-filled dirt of my yard. Yeah. Was that what you said almost? That was great. And I love the fine-edged ruffles of the peony. Thank you.
I saw KG actually posted in the chat about wanting to share.
Okay.
Would you like to speak or?
Yeah, if that's all good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Please.
So the poem I'm reading is called The Unexpected Lemon Tree. Randomly left at the doorstep with no note or return address, one fruit hanging on a petite tree, swinging between the outside noise and inside silence, before being placed on a chipped kitchen windowsill. Citrus sun barely peeping through its green protective shell, that is firm and bumpy in a waxy way to the tips of a shy finger, hanging from freshly commissioned brown branches, ones that have barely felt the cool touch of starlight. Their fruity aroma is subtle yet rustic. Sounds of their branches rustling break the fourth wall as they grow. and thrive in this new place, the lemon tree, a symbol of a stranger's kindness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love how these lemon trees and containers of soup become expressions of love and kindness indeed. And the citrus sun and the full touch of starlight. Beautiful, beautiful. I saw Ellen's hand up.
Hi, I'll just read part of this because I kind of went off on this one, but so. Gather round the oak table, the Chinese, Jolly and his mother, my father-in-law Tom, watching from a dining room chair, and the Irish American, me. The blended sons enter and take their place, spoons in hand. I dust marble with flour, and Nai rolls the dough into logs and cleaves pieces into flat coins with the beer bottle, rolling pin. We each lift an oval and spoon meat into the center, press the edges together into a crescent. Nai shows us how to fan fold the seam. My husband says the best pleats look like a stegosaurus's crown. We and debate who makes the superior ones, intent on this feast we make together. The trays fill with dumplings, hundreds, ready to drop into the water boiling on the stove. The interior kitchen window now shrouded with steam.
Thank you. That Stegosaurus image was so perfect.
It's true.
Yeah, and I loved all the details and the dust, marbling the dust with, or the dust marbled with flour and everything. Beautiful. Thank you.
Well,
Anybody else? What's that?
we're approaching the end of our hour, so
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
actually
yeah, we
thinking
are.
this is a pretty good time to send some closing remarks and just to thank everybody and talk a little bit about what's up next. So thank you to everyone who participated in this session. Thank you, Hale, for being our Mind Poetry Moments curator for this year. And I know you have a lot of exciting things coming up, a second book of translations for Rumi. You're doing an artist residency right now, and you have like a lot of performances coming up, I believe.
Yeah, if it's in New York City, Saturday, April 27th. We'll be
Yeah.
bringing Rumi Gold Rumi to life on stage with song and poem and translation. Yeah.
Yeah. We also wanted to thank all of our facilitators that participated. So today, Samyak and Ta.Ma.R.A, but also all the facilitators that helped out throughout this month. Daniel Fresco, Eddie Gonzalez, Trina Basu, Morley. Thank you to all of them. And once again, thank you to everyone participating right now, because this does not exist without you sharing all the wonderful poetry that you are. We're going to talk a little bit about possibly publishing that poetry. We're opening submissions for Mindful Poetry Moments, and Bryce will talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So after this gathering, we'll open up the submission form, and we'll be sure anybody that isn't here that you know, we'll send that out to everybody. And you can submit up to 4 poems per person. And the only condition is that the poems are written during this month in response to one of our mindful poetry curated poems and the prompts during our time together. And those submissions will be due at the end of May 26th. And then we'll work on getting that book together over the summer before our August 7th book launch. So super, super excited to read all of your poems, and this will all be followed up in our email. So just keep an eye on your inbox.
Yeah. And if you want to workshop that poetry, we're actually hosting a workshop next week, same time, 3 to 4:30. And this will be led by Sheila McMullen. And if you want to work on any of your submissions, for the anthology, just please come. And if you just want to talk poetry. Yeah, as we always do, we want to end the virtual gathering with another reading, a final reading of the poem. And Ta.Ma.R.A, you want to close out our session today?
Happy to do so.
I'll share the poem on the screen too.
Thank you. Excuse me. A Blessing after Lee Young Lee by Samyak Shertok. Twice a year, Appa cooks his monk's half-moon dish, a pumpkin blossom lamb curry. First crackle the fenugreek seeds in ghee, stir the thinly sliced baby pumpkins translucent. Add a concocted paste of wild herbs soaked in buttermilk overnight. Drop the smoked fatted lamb pieces or bone stock. Let the fat begin to melt. Then spread the flowers whole on top until they're dreaming. But before offering it to us over steamed rice, even before his gods, he'd serve those who were not home. Place the filled clay bowls on the edge of the smoldering hearth in a half ring. Always bigger portions than for those politely waiting around him with clean hands, which made me wish I were not there, but forgot all about as bite after bite dissolved in my mouth, each mouthful luscier than the last, more ravenous for the next. Salt, cliff-forged flesh, aged smoke, forage fragrance, rain, honey dark, earth and moon milk, petrichor pistols, butter gossips of the butterflies, fire of the fireflies, summer, sweet summer, sweet impossible summer.
Thank you, Ta.Ma.R.A. We're looking forward to this sweet summer too. And virtual gatherings, we're taking a little break, but we will be back in the fall. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Hala,
you.
Ta.Ma.R.A, all of
Thank
you.
you.
You're so
Thanks.
welcome. Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
See
everyone.
y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.